Good morning. My name is Steve Turner, and we are sitting here by my fireplace, and we're going to call this Fireside Chats. And the objective of our get together over this series of videos is to talk about living a Christian life 24/7, personal life, business life, spiritual life. It's really all one anyway. But to talk about it, we're leaning on the business side here. But the objective is just to talk about some things. I'm going to share some testimonies in my life, and we all have our own. And I use mine just as examples. God is the leader of all things, and He's the one that guides us in the right direction. So I'm going to go through a few things here, and I look forward to spending the time with you. This is supposed to be a relaxed atmosphere, so make sure you have your coffee. I do. I need coffee. I don't function without it. So let's take a look at what we have. First of all, as I mentioned, the objective of this really is to talk about living a successful business life as a Christian, walking it out 24/7, not 2 hours on a Sunday. And to position leaders, business leaders, to receive revelation from the Lord. So the objective here is that we live a life so that we are open to His revelation on a day-to-day basis. And we'll dig into that a little bit deeper. We want to learn to follow biblical principles. There are numerous ones. We'll talk about a few of them. Very importantly, live the golden rule. This was one of the messages from Jesus in the Beatitudes. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. He started it, and it's been going ever since. And this is a key element as well in our relationship with people. I also want to talk about leadership because I am talking to business leaders here to one degree or another. It doesn't matter where and what level anybody is in a business, where you're the CFO or the CEO or the president or a vice president, whatever. It doesn't matter where in the hierarchy anybody is. What matters is how we lead those people that report to us. That's really the bottom line. And there are some, and I have found over my years, and I've been at this for a while, 35 years in corporate America, entrepreneurial business since then. And I have learned over all this time that there is no such thing as 5 steps to being a successful leader. There's not 10 steps to being a successful management person. It really is like a bag of clubs. We know that on the PGA Tour, professionals go golfing, they carry 14 clubs in their bag. They use the club based on the situation they're in. And that's what leadership is like. We learn skills, we put them in our bag of clubs. I don't like the word club too much, but it's a pretty good analogy. And we use the club or the skill necessary for whatever the moment is. And part of being a leader is knowing which skill to pick. So we'll talk about those things as well. Again, all of it under the umbrella of Jesus being the main force in our life on a daily basis. So again, I was at UPS for 35 years. UPS is a tremendous organization. I was blessed to be there. I received a call for an early retirement. That happened in 2007. We've been in the entrepreneurial space since then. And during these two pieces of my life, corporate, entrepreneurial, the relationships with people are the same no matter where you are. Doesn't matter geographically where you are. It comes down to this thing right here called the heart and working with people no matter where you are. I did spend 5 years in Europe, so I do have international experience. And that's where I truly discovered that no matter where you go, people are people and they want to be treated well. And they'll follow. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. All right, so I'm going to go over some foundational things first. Everything that we talk about, everything that we need to do on a daily basis is really rooted way back at the beginning in the book of Genesis. It's very clear. I'm going to talk about that. In Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 to 25, God created all things. he dedicated 3 verses to creating man. They're verses 26, 27, and 28. I'm going to go over through those briefly, yet thoroughly enough to leave the message of what he is calling us to do. So in verse 26, this is where God declared what he wanted to do. He said, then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Now, who's the us? Let us make man. Us, most theologians, I think, will agree that it was Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and God. We get proof of Jesus' element in it in John chapter 1, when Jesus is described as being in the beginning during all of creation. So I think we can safely say that that's what encompasses the us. He said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Now, what does that mean? Three large pieces. You could probably dig deeper into this, but let's just pick 3. Number 1, God was a spirit being, and so were we at the beginning. We were created as spirit beings. We didn't become flesh until a little bit later. Number 2, God has free will, and so do we. We have the ability to make decisions, make choices, right? And the third one, God was a creator. We are also creators. Now, granted, God made all things at the beginning. We have taken what God has created, and we have created things. Everything that we have built, everything that we have developed, we as in man, over all the centuries, has been because of he gave us the ability to utilize what he made to make things. The internet was created at the beginning. It just had to be put together, at least in the public sector in the late 80s. So we are spirit beings at the beginning. We were creators, still are, and we have free will. Those 3 big things. And then he said this, let us make man our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So he declared in the first verse of this that man was going to rule. In verse 27, this is where he actually did the creation. In verse 27, it says, God created man in his own image. We talked about that, right? In the image of God, he created him meaning all of mankind. Male and female, he created them. So, male plus female equals the full embodiment of what God created as a human being. So that happened in verse 27. In verse 28, this is a really key verse here, because it basically states what he wants us to do. So verse 28, God blessed them. So verse 27, he creates us. In verse 28, he blesses us. What does that mean? That means he gives us our skill set, our personality, all the tools we'll ever need to carry out the call in his life. So, skills, personality that he creates and gives us at the beginning. Does that mean they're all active at the beginning? No. They're developed over time. That's part of the walking our life with him. But he gives us everything we need to be successful. And he said to them, be fruitful and multiply. That's 2 things, by the way, not just making babies. The word fruitful means bear fruit. And we can get a really good feel for this if we take a look at an apple tree. An apple tree starts from a seed. After it's grown to a certain point, it starts to bear fruit. Sound familiar? That's what we do. At a certain point, we start to bear fruit. Now, the apple tree bears fruit. The fruit is harvested, used. The next season, the apple tree bears more fruit. But what's the difference between year 1 and year 2? The amount of fruit. The apple tree bears more fruit because it grows. So as the apple tree grows, it bears more fruit each season. Same thing with us. As we grow and develop, season after season after season, we all bear fruit. But the point of this is this. We have been commanded to bear fruit. He gave us the ability at the beginning of the verse, God blessed them. Then he said, be fruitful. Then he said, multiply. Yep, multiply means make babies, but it also means this. Inside the original word of multiply means become great. Become great. Bear great fruit. Make an impact on life. He creates us for a purpose. We need to carry it out. And if we do, he's right there with us. Remember, we have free will. We have a choice here. I encourage you to choose him. Okay? All right. Then he says, fill the earth and subdue it. So the earth is here for a purpose. Right? He created the earth and put us on it. He didn't create the earth, put us on it, and tell us to stay in a 10-acre square. Right? Use it. Subdue it. Take control over the earth. That's why he gave it to you. Properly. Not misuse, but used properly. And rule over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the sky and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So in 2 out of the 3 verses, God says rule. Rule. He gives us a command to rule. Now, what does that mean? Let's think about that for a moment. The fact God gave us a desire to rule. He gave it to us. We have it, right? So the fact that we have a desire to rule means it's part of us. And I'm going to dig deeper into this as we go, but at this point in time, just let me say this. Because we have a desire to rule, we have a desire to rule. Business leaders are most successful if they recognize man's desire to rule. And that was given to us by God. It's right here in this verse. Let them rule. He gave us the ability to rule. So, and when we lead people, regardless of where we are, whether we're an entrepreneur, whether we had a sole business, our own business, whether we're part of a corporation, here's my dog. I am at home. And wherever we are in the process, we are going to be leading somebody. And those people, we need to respect the fact they have a desire to rule. So as we lead, we need to respect that. And we'll be successful. Telling people what to do and having people just be robots, that is not the way we were made. There is responsibility, there's accountability and all those things, and there's nothing wrong with any of that because it's part of life. But it's the relationship we have with people that really impacts our success. And that's respecting that rule. Is one of them. So I'm going to end at that point. I enjoy doing this. I like to share things in my life and the things that the Lord has revealed to me over time. And he reveals to everybody, not just me. I just happen to be in the spot at the moment. He reveals to people continually. And we're going to talk about that as we move on. So, thanks for joining me. We'll see you on the next segment. Remember, don't forget your coffee. Fireside Chats. Have a great day. Thank you.